All right, guys. So I know two of you on this call we are currently doing LSAs for. And if those, and actually, maybe just a show of hands, how many of you are aware of or are currently running Google local services ads for your painting company today? Not many. Okay. So I'm not here to sell you guys anything. I've actually been talking with Mike about coming on board and helping drive some value to some actionable things that you guys can do today to help generate some new business in areas that you may have not considered before. Particularly on Google, which has some of the highest buyer intent out there. So when we're looking at capturing leads for our clients, what we're really looking at is what is the lowest cost lead that we can get at the highest volume with the highest quality lead. Those three checkboxes are typically hard to check all three at the same time. You'll typically get low cost lead, a relatively low quality lead as well. So what we have found is our program here relating to Google Guaranteed or Google Local Services ads is quickly becoming one of our most lucrative lead sources online today. Now, it's not available in all markets right now, and we'll talk through some of the nuances of this. But I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and I'll also post a link to this page as well. This is our actual SOP that we use to create these ads for our clients today. This is something that you guys can set up on your end. It's there is a setup process involved. There is some management there, so it's not just a set it and forget it. It is not the easiest barrier to entry, but it is much easier than going about creating ad campaigns on Meta or on Google search ads or anything like that. Before we get too far into this, let's just talk about what local services ads are, why they're different, and why I feel like every painting business owner should be on this ad type today. So to start with, if you guys go out and Google painter in your local market, you're going to see different ad types, different businesses pop up in different areas of Google search results. When we look at this example here, we have painters in Littleton, Colorado. We use this example because we have a client out there. At the very, very top of search results now, we have what are called LSAs, so local services ads. The nice part about these ads is, first of all, they show up at the very top of search results, which is actually above the search ads here. Now, the search ads are probably what you guys are all most aware of, where you go on, you bid against certain terms, and it costs you a lot of money. Generally speaking, this ad type here for the search ads, in most markets, we're looking at anywhere from $150 to $250 a lead. That is because we are bidding against HomeAdvisor and Angie and all of those other lead sites that are bidding on the same exact terms. LSAs, you're going to pay per lead, but they are exclusive leads to your business, pulling in leads at about $20 to $50 a lead. Hopefully that sparked your attention a little bit. All right. So these leads here that you guys have probably all tested out, let's say HomeAdvisor or Angie or one of those other shared lead sites in the past. They're not great because you're sharing that lead with 5 other guys in your area, right? The benefit of LSAs is they are exclusive to your business. So you pay per lead, you pay when your phone rings. And the better part about this, kind of the icing on the cake, is similar to those shared lead services. You can dispute the leads that are unqualified. So for instance, if somebody's calling about a service you don't offer or calling outside of your local service area, we can dispute those leads. So can you. Knock on wood, to date, we have a 100% dispute ratio with Google. We train our clients on what to say on those calls to ensure that they are disputable leads. So for instance, here's what we tell our clients. Don't pick up the phone, and if somebody's calling about, let's say, a bathroom remodel and you only do painting, don't say, hey, I have a guy that I can refer you to. That referral is considered a qualified lead. What you want to do is say, I'm sorry, we do not offer that service, and you hang up the phone. They're calling outside of your service area. Don't say, hey, I know a guy in that area, or let me get back to you. Just say, I'm sorry, we don't work in that service area. Those are all disputable leads. And again, we have a 100% dispute ratio with Google. They're being very easy about these kind of things. They record all the calls, so it just makes it easy. Now, below those ad types, we have the typical map pack ranking, the business profile. You guys should all have a Google business profile today. I would imagine everybody here does. You guys all seem like you guys are on the right page here with Mike. So if you don't have a Google business profile, go get one set up. We have an entire other article that I can point you guys to if you need help on that side. Here's the key here. Your business profile is tied directly to this ad type up here. So getting Google Guaranteed requires going through the approval process on the LSA side, but that's going to tie that to your business profile. If you notice, the review count is similar. That's because it pulls it from that business profile. So a few things that to keep in mind here is the fact that it is the top of search results, so it will get the most traffic, the most engagement. You're only paying for leads that you can quote, and at the end of the day, this is going to be something that Google's really going to be pushing local business owners to, as it's starting to open up the algorithm to favor those with larger budgets on the search ad side. So these ads are going to become more and more expensive as time goes on. Let's talk about how to go about doing this. There's a lot of nuances in this setup that we want to talk about, but this is actually not that hard. So what you guys can do is if you guys actually go, and we have a link here in this document to go get this set up on your end, but you can also just go Google local services ads, and that will allow you to check for your availability in your area. They actually give you an estimate on the price breakdown as well. So let me just for the sake of talking you guys through this, Google local services ads. We navigate to this page here and we click on how it works. We want to do cost. All right. Can somebody read off a zip code that you would like me to check into if you're not currently running these ads today?
78717.
78717. What we want to do is type in 10 for the number of leads. That way it's an easy divisible number for the estimate they spit out. And I'll show you why that's important in a second. And then here's the key. They don't have a painting category for painters yet. All right. They have a painting subcategory for handyman though. This is where it gets the nuances come into play here. Now, the nice part is once you get this ad type set up, you are going to be listed under the handyman primary category, but you can dispute those leads if they come in calling about replacing a garbage disposal, because you are under the subcategories for painting interior and exterior. This is a relatively new ad type. As of last year, it really became open on the painting side. It's not all fleshed out. There's not a whole lot of documentation out there about this, but that's why there is a market gap, and that's why you guys should all be on this. So we'll type in handyman, click estimate budget. So for 10 leads, they're estimating that's your monthly budget. All you need to do is subtract a 0. That's how much you're paying per lead. So between $33 and $50 a lead is what you can expect in your market from that ad type. So, and again, that's coming from Google.
And that's a really qualified lead that you speak to who is looking for painting.
Correct. So, and keep in mind, you're only paying for results. So if somebody calls in on that ad type, let's say you pay $33 and you can't quote them, you just fill out a quick Google dispute form and you're going to get that money back in your account. Now, one of the caveats I wanted to mention there is with the refunds, they refund you in the form of credits, not actual deposits back into your account. So it's important that you guys dispute those as soon as they come in, or else what's going to happen is you'll have a big credit bank. And then at that point, you're just kind of chewing away at that instead of just having, let's say, 1 or 2 leads that have been credited back each time. I hope that makes sense. Jumping back here, a few facts about the local services ads is you're only paying for quotable leads. You can dispute the leads that are unqualified. The average cost per lead is between that $20 and $50 range. The close ratio, because they're coming from Google with buyer intent, is between 50 and 60% in most markets. And I would be happy, Stephen and John, if you guys want to speak to any of this as well. I know you guys, we're currently running these for you. Every market's different. The lead volume, and actually we're going to jump down here to some of the cons and the expectations as well. The lead volume is very dependent on your online reputation on that Google business profile. So for instance, if you have 10 reviews on that business profile and your next 3 competitors have, let's say 100 or triple digit reviews, the chances of your phone ringing often in that first month until you get that review count up is very unlikely. It's really important that regardless of whether you guys run these ads or not, I would highly recommend pushing as many reviews to that business profile as possible. That's what's going to give you the visibility, not only in the map pack, but on this ad type in the event that you guys want to run these in the future. Stephen, John, do you guys want to talk to this ad type and how this has been working out for you? Have you guys seen, I know we recently got these up and running for you. So any feedback here for the other guys?
Well, also, I think on our end, I think we are just getting that up going. I mean, we've probably had, I would say 10 Google leads within the last 2 weeks. And I would associate it with this. I just noticed within that time frame that our zip code is associated with these ads now. So I think it's just up and going for us. So I can't really dive deep into it. I know that our phone has been ringing a lot more. There's been a couple that have been to what you were saying, more of the handyman aspects, and that might be something you and I need to talk with at another time, because I didn't realize quite that, that was the service and that we can dispute it. So we can definitely set up another chat about that later on. But I think it's been going great for us.
Awesome. John, how's that going for you out there?
Yeah,
Overall, it's been, I'd say it's super easy. It's been good. There was a little bit of a issue with me getting my new location verified, which I think held it back for maybe a month or two. But when I first signed up, I was getting a ton of calls, and now I'm getting a ton of calls again. The disputes are super easy. And I just love that literally any term that you type into Google for painters in this area, I'm literally the first result with a Google check mark. And yeah, I know, like you said, the reviews definitely play a big part of that, because we do have more reviews than anybody else that is currently advertising with that. So we do literally show up number one. And yeah, good quality leads. You know, it's not always a huge project. It's not always a full repaint that somebody's looking for. Because you are the very first painter, you get all sorts of calls for anything that has to do with paint. I want this one wall painted. You also do get the full repaints as well. So highly recommend it to anybody who hasn't tried it. Either do it yourself or talk to Austin and his team about setting it up for you.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, we have, just to kind of paint some context here, we have some guys who are pulling in like 5 or 6 calls a day from this ad type. I think the average is going to be a couple a week is typically what you can expect from this. So let's dive into some caveats here. As I mentioned, there's no primary category available for painters. So for instance, if we go Google, I like to use a big metro area like painters in Miami, Florida. You guys will see that they are listed under the handyman category. Which is okay, because again, we are disputing leads under the subcategories. So another thing that we can do here is if we look at the LSA search, and a quick and easy way to get to this is if you guys Google any painters in Miami, Florida, or any other location, it doesn't matter, and then click the more handyman in Miami, here's a little hack for you guys. If you guys Google your location and you don't see these ads popping up, probably means that there's not enough advertisers in your area for Google to begin showing this ad type. So what's important is that you understand that even if you go and let's say type in a zip code here, and I don't know if it's going to let me do it, but just trying to find a random zip code okay. Typically, if they don't have these ads running in your area, it'll say that ad type is not available in your area. And what typically happens is people walk away from that thinking, I'll have to wait, but you don't. You can still go get yourself listed here. So what you want to do instead is, again, Google painters in Miami, Florida, click on the more handyman in Florida, and you want to make sure that you have the paint indoors or the paint outdoors. They have 2 different categories here. And there's obviously, this was not developed by a painter. That's why it's outdoors instead of exteriors. But the key here is you want to search for your location in that area. And let's type in Greensboro and see. Here's a good example. So in Greensboro, there are only 2 people who are interested in running this ad type. It takes 3 to begin showing up in Google search results. So what this means is if you're in Greensboro and you begin running this ad type there, you are going to show up for every single search related term related to painters in this category. Because you're going to be the 3rd. So I always recommend, regardless of whether you see these ads showing up, go get yourself pre-qualified. It doesn't cost you anything other than your time. And you're going to sit in that queue. So that the second that a 3rd painting business decides to advertise, again, you're showing up for everything because they don't have the ability to swap back and forth. Versus Miami, you can look at the amount of scrolling we have to do here. These are all competitors. And depending on the number of reviews that you have on your profile, the authority, that kind of determines who's going to show up in that top 3, which ultimately gets the most calls and clicks.
Why don't you check out Canada, see what happens there?
Yep. So Canada, they are still rolling this out. Is there a particular city in Canada that you're interested in?
Kingston area.
Kingston? So this is the one caveat of local services ads, and I believe I actually have it listed here as well. They are primarily going to be in America right now. They are slowly rolling this out in some of the larger metro areas. I believe last time I checked, it was available in Toronto. We expect Google to start rolling this out in Canada at some point this year. It's, again, a relatively new ad type. So they're still testing it out in the US market before they roll it out everywhere. I would expect this to be available in Q3 or Q4 of this year in Canada. Okay.
I have a quick question real quick before we move forward.
Yeah.
So what's the radius, like miles wise, where people could search your city? And what would be like the radius that people could actually search you up?
Great question. So here's a fun fact about your business profile. Let's start down here. So these business profiles, we basically say you have about a 15 to 20 mile reach on that profile. So if you draw a circle around your business, and keep in mind, guys, you want to make sure that you have your address listed on this profile. It's a pain, yes, but without that address, you're listed as a service-based business where Google technically wants to keep you, but you're not going to show up in the map pack without that address. So their algorithm's still behind. Anyways, 15 to 20 mile radius in a large metro area. If you're in the sticks or let's say a lower density area, we can typically get that profile ranking about 30 to 50 miles out. So the local services ads, you are bidding on where you're willing to drive and quote an estimate. So for instance, let's say that you want to rank 60 miles away from where you're located, you can pay for that. You're going to pay for the calls from that area, but they'll still show you there. The other thing to keep in mind is your ability to show up in this top 3 spot here is very dependent on the competition in that area as well. So for instance, if you're located 60 miles away from some service area, but that service area has some big players as far as competitors go, you may not show up there even though you're willing to spend money there. Now, they can still find you by clicking on more, but this obviously creates a lot of friction and the chances of somebody actually seeing these drops down pretty low.
Cool. Right on, man. Thank you. Yeah, because I just searched up local painters in my area in Modesto, California, and there's actually only one company. And so then I searched up about maybe 10 miles down, and that company doesn't show up anymore. So that's the whole reason why I was asking.
Yep. Yeah. So when you set these up, you can actually list out all of the zip codes and the cities that you want to rank for. And that's how it determines where the calls are coming from and ultimately when to show your ad.
Perfect. That sounds good. Good information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. So jumping back here, I mentioned that there are only 3 positions in that top spot there. So it's really important that you guys focus on getting those reviews on that profile. And then, yeah, we have not seen these in Canada yet, other than being tested in Toronto from what it seems like. The other thing to keep in mind here is there is a background check involved. Now, because this is being listed under the handyman category and not something like a law firm or something like that, the background check is very mundane. If you guys haven't killed somebody, you guys can definitely pass this background check. But it is, yeah. So there is a background check, and it does require you guys to upload a screenshot of your driver's license. It's something that we hold our clients' hands through that process. It's relatively easy to get through. But once you're through that background check, which can take a few weeks, then your ad type's approved. Now, all right, so before we get to that step though, let's jump down here. Again, we have a step-by-step guide on how to go about setting these up. The background check I mentioned, what you want to do is make sure you're listing yourself under the handyman primary category. Secondary categories is going to be painting indoors and outdoors. Very, very important. You're not listing yourself under those subcategories. Your dispute threshold drops down to 0. Another big tip here is your business name. So with this background check, they actually check state records to determine where your business is located, how it's registered. And if you don't have a DBA, or let's say you're listing your business name on your business profile and it's spelled different, like for instance, CertaPro Painters of South Miami, Florida, they have to match that exact same name in their business profile. So what's really important is that you guys have a consistent name across the board. So if you have a DBA, it needs to be registered with the state in order for that to pass that background check. The other thing to consider here is the fact that if you have a painting business without the word painting in it, you're going to get a very large increase of calls on the handyman side of things. So we have a guy down in Florida, coastal professional or something like that. He doesn't have the word painting in there. And as a result, he gets a high propensity of calls coming in about garbage disposals and hanging a ceiling fan, that kind of stuff. So I always recommend, if you're listing your business online, let's say you don't necessarily want some of those handyman projects, go get a DBA with the state, include the word painting in it. You can still accept checks under that name, through your bank. But then what we can also do is list that under the same name for your LSAs. And what that's going to do is decrease the likelihood of somebody calling about those handyman services. Finally, this is really important, guys. The total number of workers, make sure you put 0 for this. They're going to ask you how many people you have working on your crew. If you put in anything more than 0, they're going to ask for a background check for everybody on your team. That complicates the process. It's very hard to undo that once you start down that path. So always put in 0. They're going to background check you as the business owner. That's all that matters to get this approved. As I mentioned, you define your service areas. So we just generally get a list of the zip codes that our clients want to target. We'll add that to the application, and add scheduled. So if you guys put on your business profile on Google that you're let's say open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, that business profile is not going to show in the map pack outside of those office hours. They really only show that. They will show closed here, but at the end of the day, if there's other businesses that are open with no office hours, they're going to show up more prominently outside of that. So if you're willing to answer your phone outside of your standard business hours, I would highly recommend removing the hours from that business profile. That way you will get more visibility there. The same thing is applicable for your ad type. If you have an ad schedule that is defined to your business hours, they will hide that ad under this more section here. So during, let's say outside of your business hours, your competition will be getting those calls, you won't. Now, that does pan out to be very important in the sense that one of the second biggest ranking factors for this ad type is how many times you actually answer the phone. Again, Google records these calls. If it's hitting your voicemail, your ad is going to slowly drop into that more section, which we don't want. So make sure anytime that you are available to answer and you're willing to answer that phone, that you have that set to either all day or a wide range of hours. That's going to get your ad more visibility and ultimately at the end of the day, getting you more calls. Some states do require that you upload proof of business insurance. You're down there in Florida, they don't have any rules. You're out there in California, you're going to have some rules that you need to upload that documentation. So again, make sure that you have that same business name that matches the name that you're submitting up here. They check all of that. We have a client out in Texas who's going through a DBA change, and it's a challenging process. So the more of that you have up front, the faster this whole process goes. So as I mentioned, a few days after, I think it's actually a few weeks at this point, they're kind of running behind, but after you submit this application, you're going to get a text message from, I think the company's called Evident, and they're going to ask you to upload a picture of your driver's license. You do that from your phone. They send it to you via text for a reason. They don't want people taking screenshots on their computer and faking it that way. It's a very legitimate process. Finally, we do recommend disabling messages on these ads, very similar to your business profile. Jump back over here. Your business profile, enabling messages on here typically generates a very high spam ratio of people reaching out. They're going to ask, if you can go take a look at a house, and they're going to send you a check in the mail. It's all scams. It's spam. The same type of things are going to come through on this ad type. So make them call you. That's the only time that you should really be paying for these ads. Okay. Well, once you get the ad set up, that's not the end of the game. There's still, you're not bidding on terms. You don't have to worry about adding negative keywords and having a landing page. There are still things you need to do to make sure that these ads continue to produce results. The first is answering your phone. As I mentioned, that is the number one ranking factor with the exception of reviews. Now, we wrote an entire article on how we train our clients to get new reviews on that business profile. I'll just give you a brief summary of that though. The bottom line is when you guys are on the job, you should be asking for reviews before you walk away. The minute you walk away, the chances or the likelihood of somebody actually leaving a review online drops to near zero. So what we really aim for our clients to do is get at least one new review on that business profile each week. So about 4 a month. So what you do is when you're finishing up that job, most of you should be doing a project walkthrough where you go through with your client and just kind of talk them through the entire project. Let's say 5-10 minutes before that walkthrough, you should walk up to, let's say you did a house painting for Sally. Say, Sally, if you felt like we did a good job today, if you wouldn't mind taking 5 minutes out of your day to leave us a review online, we would greatly appreciate it. What you want to do is explain why they're important. It's help puts food on your table. It helps get your phone ringing. If you will take 5 minutes out of your day to do this, I'd be happy to send you a text message with a link, and I would be happy to discount your invoice by $20 or $50, whatever that's worth for you. But here's the caveat. You're paying for their time. You're not paying for their review itself. That is very important because Google's terms of service dictates that you cannot incentivize reviews, but you can pay for their time to leave a review online. So that strategy is how our clients typically get the most reviews on their business profile. You figure you're averaging about, let's say, 4 a month, about one every other, or one a week. You should be 50 plus reviews by the end of the year, starting fresh each year. That cadence will outpace your competition. Next, we want to make sure we're uploading images to this profile. It's very similar to your business profile. You guys should be uploading project images to this as often as possible. That generates activity. Same thing on here. We should be uploading images to that. We want to see project images that are unique to your market, not stock photos. We also want to dispute all unqualified leads. So again, if a lead comes in and they are calling about a service you don't offer, you have to dispute that lead with Google. They're not going to do it for you automatically. Again, the key here is disputing it as quickly as possible. If you take some time and you get, let's say, 10 phone calls in over the month, and you're going to dispute them all at the end of the month, what you've done is you've built up a 10 lead credit, essentially. So they're not going to refund that back to your bank account. They're going to credit that back to your ads account, and they're going to withdraw from that the next time somebody calls. So the faster you can dispute those leads, we do it daily for our clients, the less bucket of credits you're going to have to eat through. Finally, we also want to mark any approved leads as booked. It's really important that we're feeding Google back data. So Google's algorithm really relies on data to determine where you should be showing up in search results. So in order to do that, we obviously need to mark those as disputed, but also with the leads that are marked as approved. So what that does is it tells Google, hey, this guy is getting a lot of leads and he's approving them. He's willing to pay into the system and he's a good client or a good candidate for this ad type. We're going to show his ad more often. So finally, if you guys are setting these leads up and you're not getting a ton of calls, you're showing up at the top of results all the time, you have a good reputation online, there's one lever that you can pull on this side of things, and that's changing the bidding strategy. So it defaults to max leads, but what you can also do is set how much you're willing to spend on a lead. So instead of saying, yeah, I want all of the leads, you can basically say, hey, I'm willing to spend $50 on a lead, or whatever the top threshold is that you're willing to spend. And Google may reward you for that ability to spend more on a lead by showing your ad more. So guys, I know I've just done a lot of talking. I hope this has been helpful. Again, I recommend that all of you guys get on this ad type. Is there any questions that I can answer here?
Okay, go ahead. I'm going to ask next.
Sure. I had a question about you were earlier talking about the Google Maps service. So you're saying that if you have, if you don't have an address there, then you don't show up on Google Maps or something like that. Yeah, could you expand on that? So currently, I don't have my address listed there. Is that like detrimental or?
Yeah. So that's a great question, and this is where a lot of guys get hung up. So when you list your business on your business profile, Google's going to tell you to list it as a service-based business. And, that's technically how you should be doing it. The problem is their local search results, the algorithm is not updated to favor those service-based businesses. Because what you can do is obviously have a very wide service area, but Google doesn't necessarily know where to show you within that service area. So what they do is you will not show up in that map pack, that top 3 organic search results, unless everybody else is listed as a service-based business. This is one of those things that Google's really anticipated on all service-based businesses following the rules, but nobody's doing that. So what we have to do is play by the game of the what everybody else is doing on the internet right now, which is listing their address. So Google's getting they're really cracking down on this right now, where you will have to verify your address. I know John just went through this recently with a postcard. Sometimes they're doing what are called video verifications, where they actually have you hop on your phone, like a Zoom call, and you have to validate that you're standing at the correct, street corner for your business where it's listed at. They'll verify that by matching it with Google Maps. And you have to show like your business with a picture of your logo on the outside. It's a pain. But once you get through that address verification, you're going to get a ton more visibility on that profile. Again, I know John just went through this exact same thing with his business. It's short-term pain for long-term gain.
Yeah, I get the video call to verify my address. And what I was going to ask you, how we can deal with the small projects, like let's say if somebody call you to do some like small drywall repair or whatever to paint small bathroom, and if you have some minimum, let's say what you're gonna go out, how you can handle that?
Yeah, great question. Let me see if I can pull up our dispute form that we have our clients submit, because it is different from, So let me share my screen with you guys here. We handle disputes for our clients. If you guys are setting this up yourself, you would have to do this through Google directly. But Google dictates exactly what a qualified lead is and what an unqualified lead is. They're 2 different metrics. So an unqualified lead is somebody who is calling from the wrong number, calling about a product or service you don't sell, asking to seek employment, location not served, services not offered. So if you notice, what's not listed here is project size, let's say. What you can do is basically say, I'm sorry, we don't offer that service. And then basically state like, that does not reach our minimum threshold. We have never had an issue disputing somebody who said that they don't offer that service, followed by the fact that it doesn't meet their minimum. And the reason that's important is because Google's going to stop listening to that recording after you say we don't offer that service. And they're going to say, okay, that's an approved dispute. If you lead with, I'm sorry, that doesn't meet our minimum threshold, they're going to be like, all right, well, that's still an approved lead. So I would highly recommend just leading with one of these indicators on the recorded call. That's going to allow Google to then have the ammunition to actually approve that dispute.
So if you said something like, all right, our minimum call is $400 or something like that, and they said, oh, no thanks, that's too expensive, then that would become a qualified lead.
Correct.
So we're just kind of wordsality a little bit to finesse.
Yep, that's exactly right. We're playing by Google's rules here by basically stating that, hey, these are the reasons we can dispute a lead. Otherwise, if you say on the call, I'm sorry, we offer that service, but you don't meet our minimum, or it's going to cost this much, then that's still considered a qualified lead because you can technically quote them. You're choosing not to. So what we like to do is lead with a reason that we can dispute, and then followed by the details of why.
Okay.
Great question.
So this service doesn't go in Canada, eh?
In Canada, like I said, we're already seeing it being tested. It's just not widely available yet. We did see it in Toronto or parts of Toronto. I think it was last month. What's happening is I believe they're allowing businesses to register in Canada. They're just choosing when and where to show them. So because they're already testing, that generally means we're only 3 to 6 months away from that rolling out across the board. The way they've done it here in America is they've rolled it out nationwide, but again, they require 3 advertisers in one market for those ads to begin showing. So you can still kind of sit on the back burner. I know Steven just went through this as well, where we got him all set up on those ads, but there were only 2 advertisers in his area, including himself. So finally, a third one got on there. It looks like his calls are finally coming in.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your fee for that?
Yeah. So we actually set up, manage, and handle all of these ads for free for anybody who's running an SEO program with us. As a standalone service, we charge $4.99 a month for that.
Just quick question for so you're saying that we should at least register, and then whenever they open up, then we be ready? Is this something that we can do?
So in Canada, we have not tested that at this point. We have some guys up in Canada, but they're just flat out not available in their area right now. My recommendation would be to go Google local services ads, try to get yourself set up. If you're capable of doing that and they allow you to do it in your local market, do it. What you're doing is you're pre-positioning yourself for whenever those ads do become available. You're going to be the first one to show up. What's going to happen is probably by the end of this year, I would say early next year at the latest, everybody's going to be on this channel, and it's no longer going to be this diamond in the rough, blue ocean strategy anymore. So right now, it's definitely what it is, and it's why we're trying to get all of our clients pre-positioned on this ad type.
So you should probably check every week or 2, maybe every 2 weeks, just go and keep requesting it. And if you have other people in your area, get them to request it as well.
That's exactly right. Google definitely monitors feedback. If people are willing to spend money on their platform in a certain area, they're more than likely going to open that up to you.
And then how
Thank you.
they wanna, how we can check the request for a special state, what they're asking.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question one more time?
I said, how we can know the requirements what they're asking for any state? Let's say
In terms of,
because I saw in New Jersey, and I just saw a couple weeks ago they start doing that in New Jersey. But I think somebody mentioned they're asking for proof of insurance, general liability, and home improvement license or something like that.
yeah, so they unfortunately don't have like a list of those states. You have to go through the process, and if you're in a state that they require it, they're just going to ask you that question, and it'll be a required field. If your state doesn't require it, they just simply won't ask you that question.
Anybody else got any questions? We have to take advantage of Austin's time here. So I see a lot of you really thinking. I can see your faces, so I know that you have questions. Johnny?
Yeah, so what would be the benefit of going with you guys as opposed to doing it on our own? What's the benefit?
Yeah. So first is time, and then ultimately performance. So your time is a commodity. It takes time to go dispute these leads, follow up with Google. If a dispute, Google uses an algorithm for a lot of this. So a lot of our disputes actually come back as disapproved. So what we then do is we have a manual follow-up process that happens that gets those approved. So that is a time sink for sure. Making sure that, we approve the ones that are qualified. Again, that's all a ranking factor for that ad type. The setup process, we hold your hand through all of that. This is as hands-off as you can get. In terms of the rest of it, we offer a ton of other services outside of just this. This is just one component of that.
They can build you a kick-ass website.
Absolutely.
Thanks, boys. Yeah, Austin. What else? What else do you do? While people are thinking about questions, what else? What else do you do?
Yeah, so I'll just kind of plug our services and kind of what we're about. So we're a marketing agency, very unlike your typical marketing agency. We only work with painting companies. We've been in this industry for about 15 years. We got our start working with 5-Star and CertaPro back around 2008, 2009, before they had their own in-house marketing team. We still work with a lot of those clients today. So we have plenty of experience in this market. Our main bread and butter service is organic growth. We like to get our clients pre-positioned on Google, so they are no longer paying for individual leads. That is the best way to scale your business long term. We like to layer on ads on top of that to keep your pipeline full consistently throughout the year. The way we do that is once we get you positioned well in Google, we throttle up that ad spend during the slow season. So the winter months, kind of back to school through tax season here in America. And what that does is it flattens your lead curve. And again, that gives you a predictable way to grow your business long term. Our main goal here is really to reduce our clients' dependency on ads. If we can do that, again, you're no longer paying for leads.
So would you say that this, what you guys are offering is better than running ads on Facebook?
So, right. The big difference between meta ads, which is a great lucrative lead source for residential and even commercial leads. A lot of guys don't understand that you can run commercial B2B ads on Meta and get great results there. Is that on Meta, you can, let's say you want to spend, I don't know, $2,000, $5,000 a month to acquire, a certain lead flow or get your phone ringing at a certain extent. You can do that. You can go spend all $2,000 or $5,000 on Google for LSAs. We don't have a whole lot of levers to pull. Your spend and the amount of times your phone's going to ring is very dependent on those different ranking factors that we talked about. So most of our guys come in with a budget of, let's say, $1,200 to $1,500 a month, trying to spend that on LSAs. We immediately spend $500 of that. It's so the big difference there is just the volume is really what it comes down to. We have some guys who are able to spend $2,000 or $3,000 a month on LSAs. At that point, there's no reason to stop spending there since you're only paying for results. The big difference outside of that is obviously on Meta, you're paying for things that don't generate results, such as impressions, clicks, likes, but you cannot deposit a like in the bank. On Google, you're only paying for results over there.
Perfect. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Anybody else got any questions? I see again some faces thinking. Sean, do you have any questions?
No, it all sounds good. Yeah,
Austin,
so I was going to say,
Austin, what's the special offer for short painter growth clients?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before,
anything special you can offer them?
Yeah, if any of you guys are interested in signing with us, we are currently running a promo right now where we do include local services ads at no charge for any SEO program. So if you guys come to us and you want a website, you want us to optimize that site, take advantage of those free leads that you would be acquiring. We're building you a business asset online. We'll give you the Google local services ad setup and management at no charge. All you need to do is mention that you came from Mike and Painter Growth Network, and we'll definitely get you guys hooked up over there.
Good. What were you going to say, Sean?
I'm just saying, yeah, I'm up in Canada, so unfortunately we don't have this up here yet, the lead service, but very looking forward to it. I've got some good tips on just my Google business profile and how to adjust that. So yeah, thanks, Austin.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, what I'll do is I'll post a direct link in here to my calendar. If you guys are wanting to jump on board or chat a little strategy, feel free to hop on. My calendar does book out quick. I think I do have some availability next week. One other thing I would mention is our onboarding calendar is booked out until June. So we are a few weeks out until we be able to bring on any new clients at this point.
Awesome. Well, you have the link there. You got a lot of information. I don't know if anybody can come up with any other questions, but it's been really interesting call. Like even for myself, I'm always learning in this call, even if I'm not a painter. So take advantage of everything that you've learned. And I did notice like a lot of the things Austin was saying about how to get your reviews is the stuff that we covered in the Supercharged Google Reviews module. So if you want to go back to the training and rewatch that again, that could also. So I don't know if anybody has any more questions.
Yeah, this is definitely going to get added as a nugget and a nugget in the course.
Oh yeah, and this is definitely going to be a nugget that you can rewatch again. So it was a lot of information.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot, Austin. I really appreciate you hopping on today.
Thanks for having me.
I have, before everyone goes, I have one more announcement. But yeah, awesome. Thanks again, man. Super helpful. I think if people action this, they're going to make a lot more money this summer.